Everybody, welcome back to Question the Answer podcast.
Welcome back.
We have AJ in the room.
Welcome, everybody.
We're going to have a lot of fun today. We have some great topics. We're going to probably have a 2-part episode here. So we'll begin, and then the next episode, we will finish it all up. We'll leave a couple of cliffhangers for you. But we're just going to get right into it. We have a lot of music today for some reason. And I wanted to start the podcast off today with this particular song.
And why is that?
Because I was right.
It was all a dream. I used to read
If you don't know the song,
and Heavy D up in the limousine.
Well, the youngins in the room may not know this song.
Every Saturday, rap attack, Mr. Magic Molly Mall.
All right, so we all know the song by Biggie Smalls. Like I said, it was all a dream. It wasn't real. We are talking about college affirmative action and college unforgiveness, or debt payment unforgiveness is like what I like to call it. It was all a dream, guys. Our Supreme Court has ruled on it that both of these things are completely unconstitutional. So I wanted to kind of build it back up for you guys because Mr. President Cheesebrain, President Biden, he lied about it. He knew it was illegal, and he did it anyway. He promised it anyway. And I have a little clip of him promising it way back in the day. So in my opinion, this was all to buy votes.
Of course.
100% to buy votes. I need to make sure this is the right one, though. This is 2022. So here is the lie.
Student loan payments pause is going to end. It's going to end December 30. I'm extending to December 31st, 2022, and it's going to end at that time. It's time for the payments to resume. Second, my campaign for president, I made a commitment. That would provide student debt relief.
God,
And
get
I'm
through a
honoring that
sentence,
commitment
man.
today. Using the authority Congress granted the Department of Education, we will forgive $10,000 in outstanding federal student loans. In addition, students who come from low-income families, which allowed them to qualify to receive a Pell Grant, will have their debt reduced $20,000.
That
Both
is
of these
the lie.
How do you make promises like that? And
Well-
the sad thing is, I'm sure there was a lot of people out there that really believed that that was going to happen.
Well, it's kind of like the cafeteria with your kiddos when they go and buy ice cream and they think it's just free. Like,
Right.
They don't care what has to go into the behind the scenes of how this actually gets done and who the debt actually falls on. They just hear free money, free. And it sounds really, really great.
Of course it does.
So what's interesting is in that speech, the power of Congress and through the education system. No, he doesn't have the ability to promise that much money. The House does. I believe the House holds the power of the purse. So there's your lie, okay? Now, I don't know, when I was growing up, this really weird example popped into my head, but it was about a beauty pageant registrant who entered a beauty pageant, and she told all the girls that she was competing against that, listen, you can eat whatever you want today because it's not going to show up for 3 days later.
What?
So they all ate pizza and cake. I don't know if this was a movie or something. But
It's like Miss Congeniality.
No, I think it was Beauty. What is that stupid pageant movie? Anyway. But
Toddlers
so
and
they
Tiaras.
believed this girl, and so they all ate like cookies and pizza and pasta. And then the next day was the pageant. And guess what? Everybody was like super bloated.
Of course, but that's a great example of so much of our population over the past how many years now just believing anything that comes out.
I mean,
and accepting any statement and taking that to heart and saying, this is what's going to happen. This is real. This is the truth. That's just a great example of how things have played out the past few years now.
It's kind of like social media where everything looks amazing.
Yeah, everything's
but it's
perfect.
not,
Everything's great.
It's not reality. It's just not true.
Right.
To me, this is the definition of gaslighting. So gaslighting, a form of intimidation or psychological abuse where false information is presented to the victim, making them doubt their own memory, perception, and quite often their sanity. So I found this really colorful graph.
I know, this is very nice.
Signs of gaslighting. So gaslighting is a form of manipulation and abuse concentrated on making someone doubt reality. So all your debt will be forgiven.
There's a lot of people living in a...
Blatant lying or constant cover-ups. Denying conversations or events ever happened.
This applies to like every topic we've ever talked about so far.
Well, this applies to everything this administration does.
Right.
Actions contradict words. It's illegal, but we're going to promise it anyway. Broken promises, feeling like you have to defend reality. Well, wait a minute. How do you just erase debt?
Oh, you mean like men can have babies?
Yeah, there's that
Like
one.
that? Okay.
And then manipulating others to see you differently. I believe the president just is on his little tour right now, spouting about Bidenomics. Did I say that right? Bidenomics. Everything is great. The economy is beautiful.
Yeah.
We're heading in the right
Unemployment's
direction.
great. Yeah,
But nobody can afford groceries. So there you go. Now here is the gaslighting. So the lie happened last year and throughout his presidential campaign. Now we move to the gaslighting because they have to continue this narrative because they have to manipulate others to see you differently, and they are denying conversations or events ever happened, and they are blatantly lying or there is constant cover-up. So after affirmative action and debt unforgiveness was ruled by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional, our president came out and said this. And I want you just to be very, very aware of the emotional language that he uses. Do you think he can make it to the microphone?
Turn the volume down.
That's okay. He's not even there. He's late. They got to wake him up from his
He's checking the
nap.
West Wing.
No, Hunter's checking the West Wing.
Hello, folks.
Oh, there he is. He found the podium.
There you go, Mr. Secretary. Let me begin by saying I know there are millions of Americans in this country who feel disappointed and discouraged or even a little bit angry about the court's decision today on student debt. And I must admit I do too. Before I tell you the steps we're going to take, I want to talk about what we've been able to achieve so far on student loan over the past few years. First, we made the largest increase in Pell Grants in over a decade, helping students from families who nearly all make less than $60,000 a year. Then we fixed the so-called, with the help of the department, public service loan forgiveness program. So the borrowers who got into public service, such as school teachers, police officers, social workers, service members, they actually got the debt relief they are entitled to under the law. Before I came to office, only 7,000 people had benefited from that program. Today, over 600,000 borrowers have received relief from that program. And
What
it's
is he
still
even
available.
talking about?
So many people more.
Do you have
so many
any
more
idea
people
what he's
can be
talking about
helped.
here? Okay, me
And
neither.
I encourage you to
The loans
apply
that
if you
they're
haven't
giving out.
already.
So in the interest of time, Biden goes on to explain how the Republicans snatched this away from these poor college students that voluntarily went to college and spent this money. We can argue till we're blue in the face that college is too expensive because once government stepped in and made loans federal, everything got very expensive. The problem is college students, you went to the school, you used the books, you sat in the seat, you ate
You know
lunch
what
in the
you're signing up for.
You know that somebody has to pay for these things, and this is how debt works.
Right.
Like I explained before, you can do the same thing with a credit card. Nobody's paying it off for you. So he's very upset and, what did he say? Upset and disturbed. So there's your gaslighting, okay? So blatant lying or constant cover-ups.
Yeah, he's trying to come off like, I was trying to be your hero and give you this money to help you.
And his actions contradicts words or broken promises.
Correct.
There you go. So there is your Supreme Court ruling. And once again, this isn't the Supreme Court's fault. This isn't the Republicans' fault. It was this man who stood in front of the entire country and lied about it. And he knew it was illegal. Mm-hmm. And you should be upset about that. It's funny now, though, how he's referring, because if I let that video continue, he's now using like legal words, like, oh, now we're legally going to go through this channel and legally going to do that, and it's going to take a really long time, but now the legal part comes up.
Meanwhile, we're still going to just keep giving billions to Ukraine on top of that. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Don't be upset.
So that was what I had on college student loan debt unforgiveness. And why should we care about this? Meghan, why do you think we should care about this? Why is this such a big deal that this has been ruled unconstitutional?
The student loan forgiveness?
Yeah.
Because you have loans that...
I mean, what's the big deal? Just give them 10 grand. Just give them 20 grand. Which,
it's
by
going
the
to go
way,
on the taxpayers are going to have to pay for it.
So I pulled
It's
up...
not free money.
I pulled up exactly how much taxpayers will have to pay if this went through. Remember, this was $400 billion that will be shifted to the taxpayer because it has to be paid off somewhere. Student loan forgiveness could result in $2,500 burden per taxpayer. The average burden per U.S. taxpayer is $2,500, according to the National Taxpayers Union, a fiscally conservative advocacy group. This is based on the assumption that the policymakers would need to make up for the total tally of the forgiveness through tax increases, spending cuts, borrowing, or combination of those strategies. The cost would be spread evenly across the income spectrum. Those with the highest incomes would face the largest burdens. So low-income taxpayers, if you make $50,000 or less, you're about $190 responsible towards this tax increase. So you would be increased by $190 a year. That's not a lot, all right? But once again, do you want to give up $190 for somebody else's child to go to school?
No.
If you make $50,000 to $75,000, this would increase your yearly tax cost to $1,040. So there's a big jump there. If you make $75,000 to $100,000, you're paying $1,700 annually to cover this cost. If you make $100,000 to $200,000, you're almost all the way up to $3,700 annually to cover this. Now, here comes the big money. If you make over $200,000, you'd have to pay $11,000 every single year to cover these costs. So to send somebody else's child to school, you got to pay for it. That's why you should care. And where the hell does this stop? Is it just the college students that graduate this year, or is it the college students that graduate from last year to 2 years in advance? I mean, or is it like every year we just keep racking
and it just
up
goes on and on and on.
This debt? So nobody in Mr. Biden's administration is even bringing this topic up. Where does the forgiveness/transfer stop?
Nobody knows.
Where does it stop? Or do we just have to keep paying for kids to go to school?
I mean, I just struggle with the fact that if you go into certain careers and after you've worked, let's say 5 years in this career at your job, the rest of your loan will be forgiven, like teachers. Why?
I think there's some
They belong
government
to a
jobs
union.
like that too.
Why would going into teaching make you eligible to have your loans forgiven after you've worked in this job for 5 years to make you eligible for it? I just don't get this. I don't understand how the government can pick and choose what people can be forgiven by going into like the service sector, like social welfare. Why? They're all jobs. Pay them what they're worth. But why should their loans be forgiven?
What do you think about people that go into military service? Did I stump you, AJ?
No, I mean, look, people go into the military service, they're going to get breaks anyway. They're going to get breaks anyway. My point is, though, why does the government pick and choose? Why do they steer their government benefits to certain groups of people when in reality, if we think about it, some of them certainly don't deserve these benefits? I mean, there are some that do, but there are certainly some that don't. And why teachers are a group that would get these benefits is beyond me. And if they're not getting paid enough money to teach,
Well, that's the thing. Pay them enough money, then.
Our problem.
It's not our problem.
It's not our problem.
I mean,
with the taxes we pay, right? Our school taxes, it's an absolute joke that these teachers aren't getting paid
Right.
enough money.
I mean, look at what we pay, and I say this all the time. People who catch a football. Millions, and I love football, don't get me wrong. I watch the games. I love them. But we pay these people millions of dollars to do what they do, and they're not really the best role models, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we pay teachers minimal salaries. Yeah, you're right. It's not our problem. Somebody needs to look
And
at
this
that.
goes right to the college issue. You look at what it costs to go to a school today with room and board. It is absolutely a joke. We've never looked at the root causes of why tuition has increased by 10%, 12%. And the annual inflation rate, of course, before Biden took over, was 3%. Why does the tuition cost continue to skyrocket? Is that our fault? Or is that because of the federal government getting involved in how easy loans have now become, that they can keep raising their tuition? Because people are going to take out more loans.
With no penalty.
That's right.
With no penalty.
Now all of a sudden they're forgiving those loans. It's like this never-ending cycle of madness.
It just doesn't make any sense if you have a logical thinking brain that if we want children to succeed and we want them to go to school, it should be accessible for everyone at
Agreed.
a reasonable cost.
Agreed.
You know, in the college affirmative action with that, we're going to put people to the top of the list based on the color of their skin, or, well, really that's kind of it. I mean, that was
yeah.
Candace Owens' point is, so take race out of the application. If it's supposed to be a constellation, like that guy said, I thought that was such a weird word, a constellation of a myriad of different requirements or qualifications. So,
But at the same time, you have a lot of these colleges and universities that have to meet a certain criteria for the diversity levels. So
because the government's involved and they get money, because
Exactly.
if they do,
it's just,
you know, money.
ridiculous.
Money does make the world go round. I always wondered if you took the private sector out of the equation, how successful America would be.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Yep.
And just another quick update, just as far as companies that are being added to the loser lists. So obviously we've talked about Bud Light, Target, Kohl's.
Side note, I read your text in the middle of my yoga class last night. I just burst out laughing.
So another one bites the dust, I think. It's Ben and Jerry's.
What a weird.
First of all, they've walked the line. This isn't necessarily new. However, on July 4th, Independence Day
it's
to
just
America, they've come out with this post saying the United States was founded on stolen indigenous land. This 4th of July, let's commit to returning it. On the 4th of July, that's what they're going to come out with and say. Now, it didn't go over well for them.
No, well, of course not.
Which, it's like, have you not been paying attention to what's been going on the past however many months since Bud Light, Target? Are we just, we haven't been paying attention? So Unilever, who's the parent company of Ben and Jerry's,
Unilever?
they, so far, it's probably more than this now, but have lost $2.5 billion in market cap.
Oh, it's going to be
And it's going
way
to keep
more
going.
than that.
It's going to keep going.
Not to mention, I think Ben and Jerry's ice cream is garbage.
The thing is, yeah, like if you are a big consumer of ice cream, there are plenty of options for you out
Ugh.
there. So I don't think anyone's going to necessarily miss
I feel like they
eating Ben and Jerry's.
They have children in a back room just throwing a bunch of ingredients into a jar
and
and,
then
putting
coming
vanilla.
up with clever names
Yeah.
for well,
Their ice cream is garbage.
Yeah,
I don't particularly like it myself.
you've had a good run. You know, it's from Schitt's Creek. Best wishes and warm regards. Because I don't know if we'll be seeing you anymore.
It's funny.
I just like, but when are people going to learn? And I'm just, now it's like a waiting game. Like, who's going to be next? Who's going to try it next? And what is the response going to be? It's just, it's ridiculous to me. Companies, you just stay in your lane.
This could be a good way to like invest in the stock market.
right?
This could be like the
It's
next
like a game.
a game. Yeah. Like who's going to do it
It's like
next?
Candy Crush, but like
and then move your money.
with
Yeah.
companies.
Yeah. So speaking of like really weird scenarios, we wanted to talk about Hunter, Mr. Hunter Biden.
Speaking of
today.
Candy Crush, didn't they find a bunch of those games on his laptop? I think they did.
Probably. I mean, I loved Candy Crush. I made it to like level
I never really played it.
173. You got to be really bored and really high to play it. I mean, it's you line up colors and shapes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
no more difficult than that.
All right, well, I'm glad you enjoyed that.
So, Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden.
I have been so excited because I'm curious, Megan, my dear, where would you like to start with Hunter Biden? Because we just threw out the name.
We got a cold case on our hands. Who done it? Where did the cocaine come from? We don't know. No one knows. It's the biggest mystery on earth right now.
Oh my God, please keep playing that. So we have cocaine found at the White House, or we could talk about his laptop.
Well, let's talk about all of it.
Or we can talk about Hunter's sweetheart deal in the federal bribery charges.
It's kind of just like the gift that keeps on giving.
Or we can talk about the picture of Hunter Biden doing drugs. Or we could even talk about the daughter he claims isn't his. Or we can talk about the fact that he married his dead brother's wife.
Didn't they have an affair? Did they end up getting married?
I thought they got married.
I think they had an affair.
Whatever.
They did have an affair. I do know that.
Either way, it's weird.
I mean, prominent family.
So let's go right to the cocaine.
Right to the cocaine. So the family was there. You see Biden on the balcony looking a little strung out. Did you see that clip of him?
Well, first and foremost, do you notice that Hunter is always with Joe?
Of course he is.
Always with Joe.
They're in cahoots.
Well, no. Reports say that Joe is keeping Hunter very close to his hip right now because he's extremely scared that he's going to relapse.
Wouldn't you be scared?
Because he is a recovering cocaine addict.
Recovering?
They're always recovering. They're always in recovery. That's the way it is with addicts. Yep. And that's actually a good thing for them to always say that. They are always recovering.
Some more successfully than others.
So little doodad video here about
the scandal.
The mystery.
Apparently, somebody had themselves some booger sugar up in the White House. That is what happened. You know it's true. You know, some of that fairy dust, they had that up in the White House. Some cocaine was found. And it happened to be found right after Hunter Biden was at the property. Just a coincidence, I am sure. So, Secret Service, they found this. They were doing their routine, like, walkabout, and they found the cocaine. It tested positive for the cocaine. They said it was found in the library, which is open to the public, but really isn't. Biden was not there. He and his son were at Camp David. They went away for a long weekend to Camp David. And so now, Secret Service, they launched an investigation, like OJ, to find the real killer, to determine how the cocaine got there and who was responsible. Because it's apparently 2 floors below the first family's living quarters. And I love how they were leaking it. Well, it could be accessible to the public. Have you ever been to the White House? The screening process? Shut up.
It's like the most secure place
to get in there.
It is.
It's the most secure building.
You can't even bring a bag in.
Right. And somehow, cocaine made it in there.
I mean, this is the same White House that allowed naked women to walk around on the front lawn.
You found every single person that entered the building on January 6th. Tracked him down, all this, and we can't figure out where the cocaine came from.
Well,
we can't figure that out.
There is now a story out today about they now want to launch a major investigation into what's actually going on at the White House security-wise.
Yeah.
If this is true and they cannot find who the culprit is, which, by the way, says something right up front to everybody. If you're going to set the bar that low and you have a recovering cocaine addict that lives in the house, people are going to read through that.
Because they're gonna turn it into whatever story they need to get the focus off Hunter and make it not his fault.
They already have.
I mean,
wait a minute.
it's out of control.
It's like the game of Clue.
Yes.
First it was in the library, then it was in the West Wing. Now it's been found in a cubby. It's like Colonel Mustard with the lead pipe in the library. Like this is ridiculous at this point. Do they really think we're this stupid?
They do think we're this stupid. They do think. Can you imagine if this was one of Trump's kids? Oh, can you imagine?
Or a Republican,
or any Republican's family? Can you imagine?
But that's what brings it all to reality, right? The double standard that
yes.
if you even looked at the newscasts, how they were making jokes about this. Now, can you imagine them all being so jolly and making jokes if this was Donald Trump Jr.?
No.
Or if this happened in the Trump presidency? This is why Americans today are just so fed up with the way things are going and the double standard of justice in this country. Look, we all saw the 500 different videos of people walking around the White House on January 6th. There was
nonstop.
How many frames of cameras? And I have personal experience because I've got a very good friend who was in the Secret Service. I saw the command center. I saw how they can monitor almost every inch of that place. Mm-hmm. There is no way
they don't know
that they wouldn't have a clue as to how that got there. And if you don't think in the high touristed or traffic where a lot of tourists are going through, that's not the places that the cameras would be heavily focused on.
Or security's heavily
so once
there.
again, we're being asked to swallow this without no questions asked.
So first and foremost, though, it's a holiday weekend. How much traffic is actually going to be at the White House? Second of all, Disney World can monitor a gazillion people a day in their every freaking movement, but the White House can't.
We are talking about the White House. Of course they can.
So here is Karine Jean-Pierre, who I listen, I don't think this is an easy job. However, I don't think she's very good at it.
Oh, you don't?
The holiday.
Here we go.
Can you give any more details on where the Secret Service
did the cocaine
come
from?
West Wing and how it got there?
So, as you know, this is under the purview of the Secret Service. They are currently investigating what happened over the weekend, so I would have to refer you.
Okay, I can't. I'm not going to get through this. I'm not. Okay,
Service
I can't stand this woman where I'm going to have to refer you to the Secret Service. I'm going to have to refer you to the DHS on this one. I'm going to have to refer you to Ukraine. How about, what is the definite, can I please
They're
see?
also giving her nothing to go on.
I don't care.
You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
care.
It's like,
I'm not going to get through it. So I was going
It's
to play
brutal.
that clip, but I can't. I can't stand this. Like,
it definitely can't be this guy though.
I'd respect her more if she stood up there and was like, I have no idea.
It definitely can't be him, right?
So
the same son who entered the U.S. Navy Reserves, but then was discharged day one for testing positive for, can you guess?
Cocaine. Yeah.
That guy. Okay.
Ding, ding, ding. So can we just break this picture down for a second? First and foremost, who is taking...
This guy.
Whoa. Was that...
Yes, this is from when he was there. Just cool and collected. Yeah.
Sweating like a pig. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Where did you find that? Oh, on social media.
Sure did.
All right, let's go back to this picture really quick. I'm just curious what goes on in the brain of Hunter Biden. First and foremost, who took this picture? Him or
Probably a
somebody
prostitute.
else? So my first question is if it's him taking this picture.
Well, on this laptop, which we'll get into, there's so many pictures of him taking pictures of himself doing drugs.
And I can understand why you take pictures of yourself, but if somebody else is taking this picture and then you upload it to your laptop.
He wants to document his life. It's like Blair Witch Project, Hunter Biden style.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And that is what a crack cocaine pipe looks like, ladies and gents. Ugh. What else?
Yes.
You got some fun pictures of him.
I do. Which we'll put him up here.
You're
but
like, which piece of technology did
I have a lot on a lot of devices. Yeah, I mean, on this laptop, there was, I think, almost 9,000 images that were released. And really, it came from this. It's called Marco Polo. They're a nonprofit research group. Actually, it was founded by Trump's former White House staffer, Garrett Ziegler.
Of course it was.
And they released almost 9,000 photos from Hunter's laptop, showing a lot of them were showing him taking drugs with prostitutes, him naked with prostitutes. And then there's some sweet family photos of the family
He is so
mixed in there.
gross.
Yeah, like that's him, with drugs. He's naked.
I love this.
Yeah.
One of the prostitutes.
This is probably one of my favorites.
That's
It
so
took them,
gross.
apparently, this Marco Polo group took them over 2 months to redact the genitalia from all the photos before they released them.
Ugh.
Which, thank you, Marco Polo, for saving our eyes.
I thought some of these were funny.
It's just like, repeat the line.
And Hunter saying, okay, as he does a line of coke.
Yeah, so
This is
The
Hunter
whole-
Biden, Hunter Biden
Scarface.
chilling at the White House.
But it's like, but this is the kind of stuff. I mean, how many years now have we been dealing with Hunter Biden and this type of stuff? I mean, the laptop, New York Post broke that story, back in 2020? And that freaked everybody out because they're releasing information that I think Hunter had dropped his laptop off at a repair shop, and the owner,
Wait, you missed a part. Signed a piece of paper that said, if I
Yes.
do not pick this up, I forego everything on this
Yes.
laptop.
and the person who's working on the laptop obviously found all of this information, and a lot of them were these pictures. There was information on there about defrauding government agencies, distribution and possession of drugs, prostitution offenses. So they raised a flag, brought it to the attention of the government, and now when the story broke, you have these news media, stations like CNN and all the other ones there. This is misinformation. This isn't true. Who released these? But fast forward, it is what happened. It is not misinformation.
So people that, I don't understand why just based on the photos alone, he's not in jail.
Well, correct.
Most people would be in jail.
Correct. The drugs alone, right?
The drugs alone. We have this where he lied on a gun application
Yes.
saying he didn't do drugs and then
Correct.
posted pictures of himself doing drugs.
How stupid can you be?
People would go to jail for that, to prison for
In a
that.
second.
In fact, arms shops or arms dealers, they can't even mess up a grammatical error on their paperwork or else they get shut down for days. Hunter Biden goes in there high on coke and can buy whatever he wants only so that his dead brother's wife can throw the gun in a trash can across from a middle school. Did you hear about that? I don't understand. What type of parent is Mr. Biden? What type of parent is Joe Biden? This is your son who is at his hip. And by the way, this is the smartest guy that Joe Biden says he knows. Now, let me just show you a video of why that makes sense. So Joe Biden, there he is.
You got the vaccination? Yeah. Are you okay? I mean, you seem, no, it works. Or or the mom and dad, or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when you're, no, I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors. Think of the people. If your kid wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon or whatever, something, or, whether those aliens are here or not.
I just can't.
What is he even talking about?
It sounded like it was like freezing.
Yo, Don Lemon's face was like, I'm just going to let him keep going.
Can you imagine interviewing him? Like, how do you even keep it together?
So when he says Hunter's the smartest guy he knows, I guess it makes
there's
sense.
no love like the love for your children. So,
But which one is dad of the year? Because I can't figure it out, because this is your son who clearly he enables. There's these weird text messages between Joe and his son that are just weird. So, good morning, my beautiful son. I miss you and love you, Dad. Now, there's a blurred out part, which I can't read, but then he says, oh, good morning from effing rehab. So this must be when he's in rehab. I haven't spoken to her in 2 weeks. I haven't asked for a thing from anyone. Now, the other text messages that are publicly posted on the internet are literally Hunter Biden asking for money over and over and over again. 20,000 here, 50,000 there, 70,000 here. some was to pay for a lot of it was to pay for rehab. But these weird text messages between him and Hunter, who I don't know. It's a very strange relationship.
It's weird. Clearly he's troubled. But this is also the man who has business dealings with China and Ukraine, and doesn't he sit on the board of the Ukraine energy company? Like this is that same person that we're allowing to be involved in these things.
Well, I guess my question is, there's no love for your kid, there's no love in the world like the love you have for your kid, except is this love a national security issue?
Well, when you look at the story that you're all talking about, a lot of this is all personal, right? What a degenerate, what a problem this guy is. I mean,
he's a 53-year-old baby.
The bigger story is when the president, Joe Biden, said a few years ago, he knew nothing about Hunter's business dealings.
Correct.
He knew nothing. That has now been proven to be absolutely false.
They have timestamps of
They
when...
have pictures of him with some of his business partners, and now also recordings.
Yes.
But Joe Biden was actually involved in getting some kickback. So I have a funny feeling this story is going to have legs, and the reason it's going to have legs with our press, our traitorous press, which
my God,
is horrific, but it's because they do not want this guy to run. They're going to find a reason to get Joe Biden to back out. And that's when our press will turn, and they'll want someone else to run against whoever the Republican nominee is.
Why do you think? I have my reasons, mostly because I think he's a horrible president. I really don't think he's a good man or a good person. In fact, if you actually look at video from Joe Biden back in the day, in his heyday, he was a nasty man.
Yes.
And
he was against, he spoke out about a lot of things that he's now pushing for today.
100%. And why do you think they don't want him to run? Is it because he's a liability? Is it because there's someone better?
All of the above. I mean, he is, as you can see here, he's definitely a liability. The economy is tanking. The cost of everything is going up.
He can barely string a sentence.
Right. And we're involved now with the Ukraine so deep. China's a free-for-all, right? China's in a lot of South American countries now. There's nothing good about what's going on in this country and about where we're headed. Whether it's the drag queens in schools and libraries, or whether it's there's nothing good going on in this country. So I think the fact that Joe Biden has also got some issues with his son and some other dealings, they're going to try to find someone. In my personal opinion, it's going to be Gavin Newsom.
They're already teeing him up.
And he's already in Republican states. He's campaigning for some Democratic politicians in these states, but he's also wants to get his face out there. Now, that's all well and good because Gavin Newsom has a horrific record in California.
he's like single-handedly destroying California.
That'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But Joe Biden is such a wounded duck right now. I cannot believe they're going to put this man up against whoever the Republican nominee is. Mm-hmm. Just don't believe it.
I think what's funny about Gavin Newsom is he was like, yeah, everyone's going to get reparations. And then they were like, we want $10 million each for reparations. And he was like, oh, well, actually, we'll think about it.
let me rethink.
So to double back to your point, this is the text message. So let's talk about Hunter Biden's actual legal problems because he is having legal trouble in several areas. One is the daughter he claims isn't his. And the second one is this bribery charge that he literally got this sweetheart deal. And then that links Joe into saying, I had nothing to do with any of this. Unfortunately, the text message starts off by saying, I'm sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or a text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or Chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I'm sitting here waiting for the call with my father. What could that have possibly been about? It sounds like a threat to me.
Sure does.
Something had to be promised, something didn't go through, and now there's a threat. So this week, Republicans in the House of Representatives revealed the testimony of the IRS whistleblower who worked on the Hunter Biden investigation. This whistleblower had 2 revelations to present. First, he said that the federal prosecutor overseeing Hunter's case told at least 6 witnesses that he had been blocked by Attorney General Merrick Garland, who is also in on this, from special counsel status that would allow him a free hand in fully investigating Hunter. Second, the whistleblower presented that WhatsApp message between Hunter Biden, and a Chinese executive shaking down the executive for cash by leveraging Joe Biden's presence in the room. In the room where it happened. In the room where it So there's clearly bribery going on.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're just going after Hunter at this point. It really has a lot to do with Joe, and clearly they're both compromised.
Right. I think this is just the beginning. I think this is going to expand into potentially looking into Joe Biden as well. I don't think it's going to just end with Hunter. At least I hope it doesn't.
I think Hunter's going to be the pathway into Joe.
Correct, and the whole family.
So he will relapse if it wasn't from the cocaine.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he just did in the White House, but until we know the facts, until we know where it came from,
congratulations.
We don't want to speculate.
The 53-year-old baby took down the president of the United States. It's so sad. Now, then there's also this little legal battle between him and his baby mama, which, have you been following this? This is also including Joe and Jill. So Hunter sleeps with a stripper.
Oh.
She gets pregnant and has a baby, Navy Jones. She is like this adorable little girl. Mm-hmm. And Hunter wants nothing to do with her and doesn't even remember sleeping with her. And
did you see the picture? Of course he doesn't remember.
So 2 paternity tests have been done to prove that this child is in fact his. He will not see the child. He has neglected the child for 4 years. And good for the mom. She keeps bringing him to court. And a lot has come out through this. Basically, a judge ruled that, listen, you're either going to prove your finances, because he wanted to drop his child payment support down from $20,000 a month to $5,000 because he's broke.
Okay.
So
Right.
this judge was like, you're either going to give me your finances or you're going to go sit in jail for 6 months, I think it was. So what that led to was this crap of a deal for this poor kid, because he needs to stop that investigation into his finances immediately, because that's going to shed a lot of light on where he's getting all these millions of dollars from.
Oh, he's not getting it from his paintings?
Well, interesting you bring the paintings up. So part of the deal is this child will now get the paintings that are supposed to be worth money. I have put one of...
Is this a painting?
Yes. This looks like one of the...
It looks like
spit paint through a straw. That's a painting that Hunter does.
Okay.
And she gets this piece of artwork to sell. I don't know who.
Sounds like a great deal.
And they did drop the monthly payment down to $5,000. So he got this crazy, crazy deal again in a case that deals with his own child. Not to mention that Joe and Jill won't even acknowledge this child at all. They put 6 Christmas stockings up for Christmas. Technically, they have 7 grandchildren. So little Navy didn't get a Christmas stocking.
Have they even met her?
No, they're acting as well like she doesn't exist. And Grandpa Joe and Grandma Jill are supposed to cherish family so much.
Si se puede.
But their 53-year-old man-child who does drugs and doesn't remember who he sleeps with. I mean, I guess my question is like, who's the dad of the year, Joe or Hunter? I mean, Joe surely loves Hunter, But that love is twisted. Hunter's a 53-year-old wreck of a human being with a trail of abuses of other human beings behind him. Joe may have helped curb Hunter's addiction, but he has also enabled him. I think the story here, then, is twofold. Political corruption and the corruption of familial love into something much uglier. That was written by Ben Shapiro. I thought that was fascinating. These are sick people
Like
who
I
are
said,
neglecting a child.
if this was any Republican president, family, this whole storyline would be much different.
I can't.
It would be so much different.
I can't anymore. I think,
That's what's infuriating.
yeah.
And the media, they choose to put out this false narrative and ignore the real issues and try to make it go away, and it's so
gross.
irritating.
It's gross.
It is gross.
What is this? I have this video. I don't remember. Oh my God.
look
He
at him.
looks like such a slime ball.
1000%. I saw that picture too.
I mean, whose cocaine could it be? It's only a picture of him going 172 in
Correct.
Las Vegas while cracked out on
while
cocaine.
on crack. Yes, say crack again. Crack.
Crack. It's disgusting. Oh, there's the broke man's Porsche. I mean, you got to be kidding me. So there's Hunter for you.
The gift that keeps on giving.
I know.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll be continuing to do updates on Hunter because how can you not?
Oh, he's not going away.
Right.
He's not going away.
He's not
Ever,
going
ever,
anywhere.
ever. All right. Oh, this was the text messages between him and, I don't know who the other person is, about the gun. So this alone should have put him in jail. This, I bought a gun while not doing drugs. But this is him explaining how Haley, who's Haley? Is that his
Is that the
deceased brother's?
I think so. Yes.
She got nervous that he was going to kill himself. I think it's between him and Haley. And so she decides to take the gun out of the glove compartment of the car and throw it in a trash can across from an elementary school, which, by the way, is totally illegal. You cannot dispose of a gun that way.
I mean,
That's that text message string. What a mess.
what a mess. It really is a mess. But, we'll just keep pretending that he's innocent and there's nothing to see here.
There's nothing to see here. But this just brings me to, you guys have seen this like ridiculous show called The View with these four clowns
Yes,
that
which
get on there.
it's stunning to me that this show is still on.
Well, you can't really hear anything because they're all just yakking over each other. But I remember when Joy Behar was like, Joe Biden is just a really good man with a great family, and Trump is this awful human being. And it's like, do you even look at facts, or are you on like
The
cloud?
View is the most non-credible show.
But to come out and say that, I know. Trust me, I don't particularly love.
Sometimes
Joy
it's like
Behar.
funny to watch this as like a comedy skit.
100%, and that's usually why people use their clips, is because they're like, "Can
It's
you
funny.
believe what?"
It's funny. It looks like it could be from SNL.
Yeah, I mean, when Barbara Walters left that, it just got nasty. It just got nasty. Was Barbara Walters on that? Am I right? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, how long ago was that?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
She founded the show, as far as
Did she?
I wonder if she's still proud of it. Cocaine in the White House. Dun, dun, dun. All right, to be continued.
TBD.
Crazy, which is, I can't even get over it. I can't.
Well, it's just comical at this point.
So we went and saw a movie, all three of us actually, with some other
Yes.
family members, and we saw The Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom.
What
Based on the true story of Tim Ballard, who was a former Homeland Security agent, and he basically risks his life to go overseas and rescue children from sex trafficking.
He's the CEO of Operation Underground Railroad.
Yes.
So
And I just have to say, as a parent, a lot of the kids from this movie and what he says in interviews as far as being like, 6, 7, 8 years old, those are close to my children's ages. And it's hard to watch something like this because it hits really close to home. But I think it's so important for people to go and watch this film because, as we'll get into, the U.S. is the biggest consumer of human trafficking.
Yeah, that was a statistic they put up at the end of the movie.
Yes.
How sad is that? So I was talking to someone last night who has 2 children, and I was like, oh my God, I saw the Sound of Freedom last night. And she was like, oh, wow, what was it about? And I said, it's about child sex trafficking. And she immediately was like, oh my God, no, I won't sleep at night. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But my point, I was like, wait a minute, you have children. You have to know what's going on in the world, because I get that it's an uncomfortable, disgusting topic, but as uncomfortable it is for you to sit in a theater and look at the entertainment version of it, you have to know that this is going on. Imagine how uncomfortable it is for the people that actually have to live it.
Right. I mean, and this is a very, very real issue that happens every day. And it's very easy to kind of ignore and oh, this doesn't really affect me in my life. Like, I don't want to know about it. Of course, like, no one wants to sit and think about these horrific things. But people need to be aware. We need to spread the word. And just from the message that, Tim Ballard and Jim Caviezel, who played his character, what they were saying at the end of the movie, like, everyone needs to be aware of this. As U.S. is, since they're the biggest consumer, we also need to be the solution. And I think that's so true.
Well, awareness is always step number 1. I was trying to research why it took 5 years to get this movie out. Yeah. And one of the reasons I was able to find on the very biased Google platform was they just didn't think that this topic would resonate with consumers because it's such an ugly topic.
Try to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Did you know that Jim Caviezel lost his agents because of this movie?
What do you mean he lost his agents?
They dropped him from doing this.
It's just...
But it's like, why?
So many questions.
Why? Because half this crap probably goes on in the Hollywood scene. That's probably why.
Well, there's the Jeffrey
No one wants
Epstein.
to get too close to it.
Yeah, there's that Jeffrey Epstein conundrum that's still going on. They're still uncovering the gross things that man did.
Do you think we'll ever really know who did what to who with Jeffrey Epstein?
No. It's too entwined. It's too corrupt. It's too
If they haven't
high
shared it
at
at
the
this
top.
point, we're never gonna know.
So Operation Underground Railroad has captured over 4,000 predators and arrested them, and they have recovered 6,000 survivors. Fantastic organization. And yeah, everybody needs to... This is happening, guys. This is happening all over the world. Listen, in America, it's a little harder to take children because everything is filmed and everything is on camera these days. But there are countries that it is very easy to take children.
Well, and look at our border, right? Look
that
at our
was-
border, and they talk about how the thousands and thousands of people that are crossing the border, how many of them are minors that have no parent. And
With
they're
a sponsor?
With a sponsor. There's no background check. There's no nothing. They hand these kids off to whoever's saying that they're going to pick them up.
Well, isn't there a statistic, and I don't know the number, of how many children have just gone missing? Like, they can't track down, like, an egregious amount of children that have crossed this border. They don't know what happened to them.
Correct. And I think, was it in the Ukraine? They had a very high number of missing children. They have no clue where they came from.
Well, in the movie, what happens is this beautiful woman who was...
That's true,
Yeah, I know that's true. She goes into a market and finds a cute little girl,
low income
family, and basically knocks on the door and is like, I think your daughter can be a really big star. And so the dad's like, oh my God, I would do anything for my kid. And he takes her to this place, and they make the father leave, and he comes back to pick the little girl and little boy up, and they're gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they act like it's an audition. Easy. These people are very poor. And the little girl's so excited, right? Like, this woman thinks I have a good voice and I could be a star. And, like you said, the day you do anything to make your kids happy, and comes back, they're gone. It literally makes me sick to think about. But you have real heroes in this world, like Tim Ballard and the teams that he worked with, fighting against this and really trying to make a difference. And, it's just amazing to me. I feel like, but the thing that kills me is like, I didn't even really know who Tim Ballard was before this movie or this operation that he does or the statistics on child trafficking. You just don't hear a lot about it, you know, unless you're really digging for it.
Well, I learned something at the end of the movie. There was the statistic of, you know, America's the biggest consumer of child sex trafficking.
How terrifying is that?
But there's also more humans in slavery today than ever before, and millions of those are children.
I thought this was interesting too. So, you know, in the movie, and if you go see the movie, Tim Ballard's character and himself, he quit his job in Homeland Security to stay overseas and help carry out this mission. But they needed funds to do this, and he wasn't getting that. So there was that one character,
the really good-looking guy?
Well, him, but then the other guy that really got him in touch with all these people. And I'm forgetting his name, but...
He was the criminal.
He was the ex-criminal.
Yeah.
Which apparently in real life, that is a true character, but he never did go to jail. But he is helping him fund this mission. And in real life, Glenn Beck was the person who funded Tim Ballard.
Really?
And his mission.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Which I thought, again, never knew that, never heard about that. But yeah, it was Glenn Beck. So just a couple quick statistics. Approximately 350,000 children are reported missing every year in the U.S. And of that total, an estimated 100,000 are being trafficked.
Oh, my God.
Yep. Child sex trafficking has been reported in all 50 states in the U.S. The 2021 Federal Human Trafficking Report stated that 57% of U.S. human trafficking victims were minors, and that the U.S., which we said is one of the top destinations for human trafficking and is among the largest consumers of child sex. And it's a $150 billion per year business. That's more than the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL combined.
It has eclipsed the illegal arms trade. That's crazy.
Why this isn't a focus everywhere is beyond me.
It doesn't make any sense.
Beyond me.
Like, we're more worried about affirmative action and...
Right. This was a great clip.
And the cocaine in the White House. I mean... Oh, there he is.
So there was an interview with Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard. They were together, and they were just talking about this movie and the issue.
All of this pornography, all of this is like an armed octopus that I was talking to Tim about pornography earlier. Are any of these traffickers or these pedophiles, does pornography affect them? It does, and they're proliferating everywhere, all over our country.
That's right. There are over 6 million children. This is according to Department of Labor, state, others, in slavery. They don't own their persons, either labor, organ harvesting, which we're fighting that as well, and then sex. And you're right. Sometimes we make the mistake of thinking, oh, they're 16, 17, that's illegal, but we generally don't even have time. It's children, average 7, 8, 6 years old, and this is the material that's being millions of transfers of child rape videos of that age, just in our country alone. Like Jim says, #1 consumer. We are that. It's the economy of pedophilia, I call it. And so when you see 85,000 unaccompanied minors dropped off at the border and just are dropped into our country with no background check, they just go to whoever shows up for them. We know what's happening. We are facilitating this right now. We can no longer say that this is a problem far, far away. We are the problem, we are the demand, and we have to be the solution.
I hope this movie wakes a lot of people up, and I think it will.
Why not talk about this?
Yeah, it's really eye-opening.
So we will continue this conversation. We're going to have a part 2 to the Sound of Freedom conversation, get a little bit more information, and do some more research on it for you guys. Anything else to add?
Super uplifting.
Super uplifting. Normally we start with the serious stuff.
I know, but it's important, and there's a lot to talk about.
This is important. This is very important, and everybody needs to know. Everybody needs to do their part, because sitting around doing nothing is not going to solve the issue. He said it. It's an 8-leg octopus. It's so big at this point. Mm-hmm. It's going to take all of us. AJ, anything for you to add?
No, I just want to say, having seen the movie, I understand why they produced it the way they did, and that's the focus on one family, one father's attempt to get his 2 children back, and really that's what the movie was about. I mean, it's such a global problem, and I think some people might go into this thinking, oh, it's going to be a documentary on all these cases and from every country. And I think they made a good decision because people can put their arms around one family's trauma.
Well, makes it more
family's
personal.
Emotional distress. That's right. I have 2 children missing from this one father who innocently thought he was dropping his kids off to a model agency.
Right.
And I think maybe in the next episode you can get into exactly how they do lure these kids, especially in these poorer nations where they promise these families
money and
a way to get out of poverty. Their kids can actually accomplish something and become somebody. And I think the sadness of this one father having both children being snatched, and Tim Ballard's absolutely miraculous attempt and success of getting these 2 back is absolutely unbelievable. And I would just say, but I think letting people know how they do this is so important, and how we fight this.
We'll put it on the list for next time.
Yes.
All right, folks. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.